challenge today. I hope you can hear me over all this noise here. But the weather broke, and I'm out in the other car today, my 1995 Firebird Supercharged Trans Am. I haven't really talked about this car that much. You see some older videos. Really haven't had a chance to drive it. It's been in storage, and today is the day that I take it out for a spin because I got to get the car inspected and re-registered. So on my way to go do that today. But I want to give you guys a quick little. Oops, wrong gear. I haven't driven this car in a while. Currently, this is running at about 12 pounds of boost. Oral exhaust system. I mean, it's got everything done to it. It's loud, it's obnoxious. It's one of the reasons why I don't drive it either. And it's just, it's not an everyday car. But it'll get up and go. Second gear, flip of a throttle. Over 700 horsepower at your fingertips. And that's still not at full boost. Still go up to 18 pounds. Got other pulleys for it. It's got thumbs up. But this car will hurt you if you don't respect it. To give you a little history of this particular car, I built this car probably, I would say, mid-2000s, the first build. This was my buddy, my good friend that I worked with, Claude, his car, and I had a second and third gen Firebird, and he was never into cars, so I took him for a ride in my second gen Firebird. Right, you see that? Right, which had a 455 HO Pontiac motor, you know, cam heads, all that kind of stuff, lots of torque, and he was coming from a Toyota Corolla, and he wanted to go buy a new car, and he took a ride on my old second gen Firebird and loved it. So the very next month he went out and bought this car. In '95 he bought this car, probably 2 years old. 95, yeah, maybe 3 or 4 years, 98, 99. And at the time, I also had a third gen WS6 car. And we stayed friends, and then basically, I bought then a fourth gen car, fourth gen Camaro, which you've probably seen some of the other videos or pictures of it, and I'll see if I can link it and show you pictures of that car. And both of them were fairly new cars at the time. They were stock. They had probably 20,000 miles on them. Oops. But we would race each other back and forth down these back roads, believe it or not, at lunchtime. Lunchtime we would go and film, like do some, like, you know, this is before they had the point and shoot cameras, and it was like a whole big thing to have something uploaded and to put on a video and post it with somebody. There was no such thing as YouTube. And I'll see if I can link some of those videos of this car and my other car when they were practically. New, basically, maybe with an exhaust system. So he would do something to his car, then I would do something to my car, then I would beat him, he would beat me, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
That's cool.
So then, I hope this comes through because it's really bumpy over here. This car is not a, it's not like your modern car, the race suspension, all that kind of stuff. But I'm the one who actually went supercharged first, loved the power, and then we installed the procharger on this car on a stock 5.7 motor. I mean, bone stock 6 pounds of boost, loved it, loved it, loved it. So then he went with long tubes, with another set of long tubes. And remember, I was doing all the work for him in my little garage that we had, and we'd come and hang out for the weekends and go drag racing on the weekends, go street racing, go do whatever. So this car really never saw a lot of street racing, believe it or not. It was my other car that we used to go together, go down to Philadelphia, Center City, Philadelphia. And whoever knows those areas back in the day, that was that kind of shit back then. So we would work on our cars, work on our cars, you know, all that kind of stuff. And then he got married, and for a gift, his wife actually gave him some extra money to build up a sharp block, which is currently in the car now. It's a you know, 383 or a 6-liter motor. Doesn't seem like a lot, but back then 383s for, you know, for the 5.7 motors were the thing. They were very easy kits to put in. He wanted to build something that could take the power of what this blower could put out. So we went with all steel, you know, billet steel cranks, all the good rods, JE pistons, decked out, honed the block. It's got 4-bolt main billet caps on the bottom end of the. I mean, this thing is built to take whatever you could throw at it. And it was an automatic. It wasn't actually a stick back then, so it was a fully built automatic with a race.
Okay. Take 2. 6-speed. Automatic to 6-speed. Claude, this is for you.
Torque converter. What car was nice with the automatic, but me, you know. But fast forward, basically a few years later, he got tired of the car. Plus, he moved to a different state. The job kind of changed, and this car sat. And I told him, you know, down the line, if you ever want to sell the car, you know, give me first shot at it. And that's what happened. Basically, he said, listen, I want to sell the car. Give me this much money for it. I literally wired him a check, got the title, put the plates on it, and flew down to Florida and drove the car back the next day. Well, no, 3 days. Basically 3 days it took me to do that. So I got it into my hands, and then I slowly started progressing other stuff, you know, better heads, did a fuel pump system on the car, you know, all the things that it needed. It had a Ford 9-inch in the back at one point, which now it currently has I sold that because I wasn't using the car. I wasn't going to use it for a drag racing type of car because it was never really set up for drag racing. It was really set up for a good cruiser bruiser type of car. What I mean by that is those highway pulls that you see in Mexico. On YouTube. It's got 323 gears in the back. So basically with all these pounds of boost and everything, with all this power and torque with 323 gears, it could push this car into the triple digits without a problem. So but the whole plan with this car was to basically make a good street cruiser car, put a roll cage in it, attach the string connectors, I mean, do all the stuff, and then life as usual takes over. Change jobs. I lost the big warehouse that I had that I was storing all these cars in, doing all the work in, and just I didn't have time. So this car kind of sat. Then I bought the Challenger. So right now it's kind of an impasse now. I'm deciding whether to sell the car or not. This is kind of like I'm taking it out for a ride to see if I want to get rid of it or keep it, if it still makes put a smile on my face. So I don't know. What I find really interesting, and you know, for any of you that you didn't realize what I just did, it's called heel towing. Down into the turns and match your RPMs so you come into a smooth transition with road racing, or wouldn't know that. One thing I do notice about these older 4th gens versus my Challenger is the room. The difference in interior cockpits makes these cars are really, the aerodynamics are just fucking there. And if any of you have ever driven these old 4th gen cars, Yeah, the interiors aren't that good, but you know, the seats are okay. The plastics on them, you know, typical GM 90s. But at high speed, these cars are fucking stable as can be. I mean, with these, especially the Trans Ams over the Camaros, the way they really design these cars, the way the windshield breaks over and the sloop of the spoilers, you know, these are like diamonds in the rough, and a lot of people just didn't, you know, they thought these were like speed racer type of cars, like young kids cars, but they didn't see the potential. And now these cars are kind of like the forgotten performance cars almost. I mean, dollar for dollar, performance-wise, these cars can easily be turned into supercars. Only Achilles heel of these cars, but also a positive too, is that it's a live axle rear with a panhard bar type of setup. You know, compared to the newer independent rears, yeah. But for a good cruiser, drag racer, even like a what do you call it, skid racer cars, they make excellent cars to do that. Power to weight ratio, and just the way you can set up everything on these cars is really nice. Even though they say that these LT1s are technically antiques, or they're not the LS powered cars, or the Coyote motors, or the LCAT motors, and you don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Because these small block Chevys still make a ton of power. And the power to weight ratio and the power to dollar ratio, you can't fucking beat it. You cannot beat it. Cannot beat these cars as far as price to build a small block Chevy like this and get 600, 700, 800 horsepower. Not a problem. This car. In this little fucking S-Sport, F-Sport, whatever the fuck it's called. I keep on blipping the throttle. Every time I let off the throttle, I'm clearing out the engine basically. I'm trying not to snap throttle, even though I got blow off valves and everything like that. I'm trying not to snap the throttle all the way closed all the time. Saves wear and tear on the blower, and it clears out the engine, the spark plug. Because you remember, it's still winter time here, and you got really cold set of spark plugs in here. If you notice too, the car's in 6th gear. I'm doing 55 miles an hour at about 1200 RPM. If you don't stay on the throttle, it actually gets pretty decent gas mileage, but at the same time, you're not getting fucking surging. If you notice that, I mean, you get sun, it's unavoidable with a lot of superchargers and big cams, but it takes a lot of tuning and adjust to get that part throttle with the tables to get it right, where the car is not constantly fucking surging, especially with this thing, with a manual car. If you notice, I'm just leaning into the throttle. See how smooth it is? How much torque it has just at on 6th gear at 55 miles an hour with 323 gears in the back too. It doesn't have any low numerical gears at all. I mean, this car will cruise all day at 80 miles an hour on the 2000 RPM. It's really nice. I mean, you get a little bit of chatter in the suspension, what they call it, you know, the jittery. That's because the motor is, you know, it's not a solid mounted, but it's got polyurethane bushings on the trans mount, the torque arm, the tubular control arms are all poly mounted, so you're going to get, you know, road feedback. It's unavoidable. And this has got a at the time when I built the car, I could put a $1,500 clutch in there. So what I did is that it has a lightened pressure plate from a company called SLP, Street Legal Performance. I don't even know if they're still in business anymore, to tell you the truth, but with these LT1s and the T56 transmissions, they had a special pressure plate just for these types of cars, and for these types of setups, the LT1 setups. So you're kind of limited to the type of pressure plate that you can use. So what they've done is that they have two different versions, an LT1 and an LT4, which came in the Corvette's pressure plates, which had a slightly more clamping power. But what they've done is that they've actually put holes into the actual pressure plate, which lightens up the pressure plate a little bit, but gives you crisp, really crisp, you know, like almost power shifting type of, you know, shifts without having the hang up that you see on a lot of these other cars. But it also uses a puck. I'll see if I got a picture of that. It's not like a regular circular disc. It's like fingers almost, with a carbon ceramic, carbon fiber mixture of who knows whatever it is on a stock flywheel. So it grips like a motherfucker, but you get some chatter. There's always a trade-off on something like that. At the time, the McLeod twin discs clutches were really expensive, and I couldn't justify it for what I was using it for, to spend another, I don't know, I think it was close to $2,000 at the time, because you had to get a slave cylinder, you had to get the adjustable, and they're real pain, they're little finicky to set up. This one, you just throw it in, everything factory stuff, boom, zero problems with it. But again, you get the trade-off of the chatter a little bit, you get stop and go driving. But the advantage to using this style or single disc, using factory type of parts, is that the clutch pedal is super silky smooth. So you're not constantly, some of the McLeods, they were really hard to press. Especially, you know, in stop and go traffic, you don't want shit like that. So when owning high performance cars like this, there's always a trade-off. I don't care what anybody says. They're obnoxious, they're fun, but then they draw a lot of attention. They require a lot more maintenance. And if they tell you, yeah, put on this supercharger, do that, do this, yeah, no problem, you can go 100,000 miles or whatever. I don't know, whatever some of these warranties that some of these supercharger companies are offering. Bullshit. Dude, you got to maintain the car. More frequent oil changes. Gas. I mean, just wear and tear in parts, man. Just going back to a car like this really makes you appreciate all the modern technology that are on these newer cars. I mean, this car gets you in trouble real fast. Real fast. And it just shows you that how much technology has evolved on these performance cars. And you can feel the chatter in the clutch.
For fools gold, what did I know? What did I know? I fell for fools gold, I fell for fools. for love. Yes, I did it all for love. Oh, they say fools believe in.
Okay. Take 2. 6-speed. Automatic to 6-speed. Claude, this is for you. Look at your old car, Claude. She about to be 6-speeder. Is that a word? I don't know. More nuts and bolts. Yeah, these are one of these stupid YouTube videos that Anthony is recording because there's nothing else better to do because his back is hurting him. He doesn't want to help me. Or he refuses to help me. Very important bracket. There you go. For all that you want to know, how to take a brake pedal assembly out of an automatic car. What, an hour and a half?
Yeah, about an hour and a half.
About an hour and a half. Not too shabby. Not for 2 grease balls like us. Watch, this video's gonna make me look fat.
I can see the light.
Oh, shut up. I figure I'd take these damn plugs out, it'd be nice. Note to GM. Why the fuck do you have these clips like this? You know? Are you afraid some alien race is gonna come and take your work apart or something? Jeez, man. Alright, almost here.
Is it a boy? Is it a girl?
It's an it.
Is it out?
If Claude had so many freaking wires in here, it'd be out right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. That's your automatic assembly. Be sure to put the pants back up. That's your 6-speed assembly. Alright, I'm done.
They say fools believe in.
Anthony's having a fun. Watch install it. Go ahead, flip it. He's gonna install it, I know it. Is that what you remember?